This is the Palin Update on Saranet Radio. I'm Kevin Schola.
Well, unfortunately, we know what we will get with 4 more years of Obama. This really is a catastrophic setback to our economy.
Barack Obama, re-elected this past week, will have the reaction of Governor Palin. While much of the country suffered setbacks on Election Day and Democrats kept control of the Senate, there were some exciting new senators elected. We'll take a look at the Palin-endorsed candidates heading to the Senate and the House. The House remains in Republican hands. American Grizzlies United candidates roar at the ballot box. Many state houses did well on Tuesday. In Texas, State Rep. Kelly Hancock won his race for state Senate. Hancock joins us today on the show. And just ahead, the latest Steel Resolve commentary with Sarah Steelman. Now, we will certainly be looking closely at the future of the Republican Party on a national level, and also what to expect in a second Obama term in the weeks to come. But today, we'll focus on a success story. He is a Texas state representative, and he is fresh off a successful election night where he won his race for state senator for District 9 in the Lone Star State. He is Kelly Hancock, Senator-elect. Welcome to the Palin Update.
Great, thank you.
Now, you do realize you, meaning the state of Texas, are really the envy of many right now, because while much of our country suffered a major setback last Tuesday, you, sir, live in a state that is sending Ted Cruz to the U.S. Senate and sending folks like yourself to the State House. So my question is, can Texas feel the pain of many of us, or are you guys just thanking your lucky Lone Star, if you will, that you're in a state that still looks like the America we all love?
Well, we recognize that Texas is in a good position, that we've maintained a balanced budget. We've not raised taxes, and so we've tried to do some things right. But we also recognize that the continued pressure from the federal government. There are times that Texas feels like we have a little bullseye on us when it comes to the federal government.
You've served as a state rep for some time now. As you become a state senator, how will that experience as a representative help you?
Well, you understand the legislative process, at least a little bit of it. There are significant changes in our Senate as opposed to the House side. But the thing that we do have to look at is when you do go through a legislative process, a lot of what you're doing is just theory until you put it in practice. And so over the last 6 years, we've been able to see conservative theories put into practice, and that's really what's made Texas the #1 job creator in the nation. And we're seeing our economy already coming back and growing, and so it gives you that perspective of seeing what you've implemented and then seeing the economic success that is brought.
What are your goals as you head into this new position as a state senator?
Well, coming from Texas, where we have seen some successes, I mean, the one thing that we know and we see is other states are going to be shooting for us. I mean, there's going to be increased pressure to make sure that we continue a business-friendly environment, that we continue with conservative principles, and provide a place where people want to come and work and live. And we can't sit back and rest on our laurels, but each and every session we got to continue to make sure that we're doing all we can to protect and provide the freedoms and the liberties that people in Texas have come to expect.
Sarah Palin has long talked about how it's important for us to lead no matter who's the president, even those without a title. But she's also stressed how vital it is to have good common sense conservatives as local mayors, on school boards, and yes, in the House and Senate. Now, on a state level, you'd think Washington would look at successful states like Texas and take a page from your playbook. But instead, you're saying a lot of times there's a bullseye on the state. So it seems a little backwards.
Well, it does seem a little backwards, but, we can only affect what we have the ability to impact. And so, there are many of us that wish things had gone a little bit differently on a federal level, but we can't spend a whole lot of time worrying about that. We've got to move forward and continue to do what's best for Texans and what's best for Texas.
If we're not electing constitutionalists on the national level, does that make it even more important, though, to make sure our state houses are chock full of those who will fight for liberty and freedom? I know we have an overwhelming amount of GOP governors right now, which is a good thing. So do you think it makes it even more important to have these strong state houses across the nation?
Well, I think you bring up a great point. We have seen successes, and I think where we have had individuals that have run on an understanding of the Constitution and an understanding of conservative causes, we have seen successes, and we need to continue that at all levels. And as you mentioned, we've got to make sure that we have leaders at all levels, leaders that get it and understand it, and leaders that understand that we grow the economy when we put the power in individuals' hands and we allow them to live and prosper in a state and in the United States.
You're a small business owner. You're also someone who's fought high taxes. Tell us, as someone who knows what it takes to run a business, why lower taxes are essential.
But it's where your dollars get compounded. I mean, when a tax dollar is spent by government, the best case scenario is you'll get a dollar's worth for a dollar. And what business does, what we see, what drives the economy are small businesses, where they take a small investment. They're gathering what they can. They're borrowing from family to just start, whether it be a restaurant or a business, whatever, or a service, whatever it may be. But those that are successful, they take that small sum of dollars that they began with, and they multiply it, they compound it, and business is able to compound revenue, and really all government's able to do is spend it.
Do you think, sir, that half the people who voted for President Obama Tuesday understand his policies or what it'll do to them? Because a lot of people are really scratching their head about the outcome, kind of shocked if you look at the record and now seeing another victory.
Well, it's hard to know this fresh off of the election, really what did take place. I think it is important for us, even as, especially as conservatives, those that to make sure that we're getting our message out, to make sure that we're setting before the people leaders that can relate. I believe that when you're in leadership and in a government position, that your constituents, those voters, they want to be able to relate to you. They want you to be able to relate to them in really a pragmatic way.
Education's huge for you. Your wife has vast school board experience. You've won praise from homeschool families. Tell us what your ideas are on education as you start a Senate term soon.
Well, I think it's important in education. We keep talking about wanting families to get involved. Well, families will get involved when we empower them, when we give families the ability to choose, to actually be involved in the selection of their education and the elementary schools and the middle schools and the high schools that their children are to attend, and determine what is best for their individual child. So we've got to empower down at the lowest level, not just in some administration building, but even onto the local campuses.
You're a values guy, too. Does it rub you the wrong way at all when people try to make elections about anything but values? Aren't our core American beliefs always important along with economic issues?
Yeah, and I can speak for myself, and I can tell you, that my faith, there's nothing more important to me than my faith. And I understand that government can't change the heart of people, but I do think it's important for people that carry high values that they bring that to the way that they operate within government and the way that they lead within those positions.
Sarah Palin's family and yours seem to have a lot in common. You center things around the church and family and volunteerism. It really shows us, no matter who's in the White House per se, we still have the power as we the people in many ways, don't we, with our everyday life? Absolutely.
And yet, while we have those powers, the most important power we have is to wake in the morning kneeling and recognizing where our powers come from.
What do you think of Ted Cruz? He was endorsed by Governor Palin, and he stands to play a major role in D.C. to fight these far-left policies coming from the executive branch.
I don't think we've seen the last of Ted Cruz, so I think that's a name you'll be repeating on this radio show and many radio shows across the nation in the years to come.
Yeah, probably a leadership role coming up there, hopefully, and that's probably something we need to see some of these real common-sense conservatives move up to leadership. That said, and, we are putting a positive spin on things, you mind if a lot of us head to Texas for maybe a 4-year visit?
Yeah, come on down. You're more than welcome.
Kelly Hancock, go get him in the state Senate. We look forward to tracking your progress.
I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Kelly Hancock fighting the good fight in Texas. Palin-endorsed candidates fared quite well on election night despite the Obama win. Ted Cruz capturing a U.S. Senate seat in Texas, and Deb Fischer doing the same in Nebraska. Congressman Jeff Flake also won a U.S. Senate seat out of Arizona. And Mr. Balanced Budget, Orrin Hatch, reelected to the U.S. Senate from Utah. Also Tuesday, 2 Palin-endorsed candidates won House seats. Dr. Paul Gosar, reelected in Arizona, and Dr. Ted Yoho winning in Florida. We wish all 6 of these patriots well. America certainly needs them. American Grizzlies United candidates got their grr on Election Day. 43 of the candidates notching huge wins, only 20 AGU hopefuls lost. And that is really a super percentage considering Obama won and considering that AGU, just like Governor Palin, doesn't just focus on candidates that are shoo-ins. They pick the best candidates. And these winners on all levels of government are sure to make their mark in the new year. Head over to AmericanGrizzliesUnited.com to see all the winners. Congratulations to all. The success of the Palin-endorsed candidates and the AGU candidates proves that America's yearning for a conservative message. Perhaps one day the GOP establishment will learn that. Many are feeling pretty down after the Obama re-election, and it's understandable. 4 very tough years could very well be followed by 4 worse years. But Governor Palin is calling on all of us to not lose heart. The governor says this election is not an Obama mandate, nor is it a rejection of conservatism. She points to unanswered ads that ran in blue-collar swing states that defined Romney early on, and the media piling on for the loss. Palin implores us to fight for what is right and don't look to government or any politician to solve your problems. She says we must survive, united, one nation, under God. And that we will. Now, our weekly commentary, Steel Resolve. Here's Sarah Steelman.
Thanks, Kevin. The Wall Street Journal's Kimberly Strassel captured the magnitude of the stupidity of the GOP's failure to recapture the Senate in her article, The GOP's Epic Senate Fail. In it, she calls out Senate leadership for committing professional malpractice. Republicans absolutely squandered their chance to take control of the Senate, which was crucial because President Obama was reelected. Strassel was polite in her criticism. I would have called it the demise of the National Republican Senatorial Committee's Senate Stepford wives. The leaders of NRSC can complain all they want to about the lack of leadership coming out of the White House, but I would say it takes one to know one. They learned nothing from their failures in 2010, which resulted in failure on steroids in 2012. They were much more clever this time around, more subtle in their support of candidates who they deemed as acceptable. Acceptable meaning former congressmen or senators or, yes, even former lobbyists with an occasional multimillionaire self-funder thrown in because they, the NRSC, clearly believed money was more important than ideas. Of course, forget the fact that Congress's approval rating was the lowest in the history of the country. The bottom line was the NRSC wanted the equivalent of Stepford wives who all looked and acted like them, people they would feel comfortable drinking with at the country club. The one Democrat seat picked up this year by the GOP was the one Sarah Palin endorsed, Nebraska's Deb Fischer, who does not fit John Cornyn and his Stepford boy candidates. Maybe the Republican Party should actually listen to what Governor Sarah Palin has to say instead of stiff-arming her. In fact, how'd that convention end up working out for you, Mr. Romney? This is Sarah Steelman with SarahNet Radio.
Tune in again next week for another segment of Steel Resolve right here on the Palin Update. And don't forget, the Palin Update, including Steel Resolve, is now on demand and available for download. So just head to SarahNetRadio.net, pick the show you want to hear, and you can listen anywhere, anytime. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on SarahNet Radio. Visit SarahNetRadio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. I want to thank Sarah Steelman and everyone here at SarahNet Radio. Thanks to Kelly Hancock. And thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. Have a pleasant day.